This video is brought to you by StatHead from the creators of Pro Football Reference. I absolutely love this product and I use it religiously to do research for a ton of my videos, and have for quite some time. StatHead is the best database out there and gives you just about anything you could ever have hoped to research. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to use. The New Orleans Saints are off to an amazing start this season, having scored at least 44 points in each of their first two games. What other teams in NFL history have scored 44 points in each of their first two games? Well, with StatHead, you can find out. I just go to the team game finder, type in what I need, and instantly I get results. This footage is not sped up. It's really that quick and that easy. Then I can click on the games that some of the teams did it, like when the Rock Island Independents did it in 1920 with a game against a team called the St. Paul Ideals. That's just one of the 1,000 ways you can use this product. But if you use my code JG9 at checkout for an annual subscription, not only does it help the channel out a ton, but you get a 20% discount. Link in the description below. So go to stathead.com and sign up today. Do I even need to say anything? You know, there are some moments where I really have to think about a video topic. There are some moments putting out a video every single day that I need to do extensive research and read for hours upon hours and dig through hundreds of newspaper archives just to find something that I find interesting for a story. And then there are some moments that are like a gift sent down from the heavens, where a dumb decision that everyone knows was a dumb decision just falls down from the sky and lands right into my lap. And folks, we had one of those on Monday night with the Eagles-Falcons game. If you went to bed at the 2-minute warning, thinking that the Eagles had it in the bag, just like everyone, and woke up and were like, wait a second, how did the Eagles blow this one? Do I have a story for you? This is a story all about how the game got turned upside down. And before I tell that story, be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Because we post every single day about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL. Like whatever the heck took place on Monday night. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. Alright, it's 3rd and 3. The Falcons have no timeouts left, and the Eagles have it with roughly 1:40 to go, up 18-15. All you have to do is run the ball, kill 40 seconds off the clock, and if you get a first down, you win it. Heck, if you don't get a first down but it's close enough, you can win the game with a tush-push. And even if you don't get the first, the Falcons are going to have virtually no time left to do anything with the football. The one thing that you cannot have happen is have the clock stop, which means that under no circumstances whatsoever should you call a passing play. You can do anything you want except call a pass. You can do anything you want except eat the apple off the tree. Take a wild guess as to what the Eagles decided to do.
Hurts. Barkley dropped it. Wow.
Oh no, your eyes did not deceive you. They called the passing play and the clock stopped. And with Atlanta having time on the clock to work with, take a wild freaking guess as to what happened next.
One-on-one at the bottom. Cousins looks right. Has a man. Touchdown, Drake London.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something that looked bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something that looked awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this could possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Philadelphia Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. So, if you thought Nick Sirianni's seat was hot before the season started, and rightfully so after how his team collapsed at the end of last year, what is the seat like now? It's hotter than Phoenix in July. It's really hot. There are some dumb decisions that coaches make that you won't remember at the end of the day, and that are definitely not their defining legacy. No one's going to remember when thinking about how good or how bad a coach was the time that they let a few seconds run off the clock instead of calling a timeout. And no one's going to remember the one play call that they made in a bad spot on 4th down in the first quarter of a game which they ended up winning. But then, there are some dumb decisions that are a coach's defining legacy. John McVay's defining legacy is being the coach for the Miracle at the Meadowlands. Mario Cristobal's defining legacy is being the coach for that loss against Georgia Tech, where all Miami had to do was take a knee. And you can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Pete Carroll's defining legacy is being the coach for Super Bowl 49, where they didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. And this is one of those. When you have the game just about won, and you somehow lose it, you don't forget it. We're going to be talking about this dumb decision for a long time, especially since this was on national TV on Monday Night Football. And Nick Sirianni's legacy, especially if he doesn't coach past this season and gets fired at the end of the year, is going to be the fact that he was the man in charge of this Monday night meltdown. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a passing play when the opposing team has no timeouts left and it's inside the 2-minute warning is a really bad idea. Obviously, if you get a first down, that's the end of the game. If you get the requisite 3 yards to move the chains, that's it, since the Falcons have no timeouts. And with the ball at the 10-yard line, needing to get to the 7, you have to remember that the Eagles have one of the most automatic plays in NFL history with the tush push, and it was successful for this entire game. If it gets to 4th and 1, you're going for it. You're absolutely going for it right then and there and trying to get the first down to win it. This isn't 3rd and 3, it's 3rd and 2, because you're going to get that 4th down play if you need a yard. So you need a play here that's going to get you 2 yards. And with the way Saquon Barkley have been running all day, averaging well over 4 yards per carry, I like my odds of getting 2 yards and winning the game on the ground. However, even if you don't pick up the first down on the ground, and even if it doesn't work out, and you have to settle for 3 points to make it a 21-15 ball game, if you run the ball, guess what? The clock runs, because the Falcons have no timeouts. If that run play goes to 141, you take 40 seconds off the play clock, and then you kick the field goal with Jake Elliott, and the Falcons are getting the ball back, needing to drive the length of the field with no timeouts in under a minute, you're in a pretty good spot. This likely means that, barring a coverage bust, the game will come down to a Hail Mary, or at the very least, a pass from beyond the 20-yard line into the end zone. Yes, I know what I've said in the past, that within reason, if you have a chance to win the game right then and there, I'm usually not going to have a problem with it from a risk-reward standpoint, because the ultimate objective is to win the game. But the game was basically won if you just run the ball. Either you pick up 2 yards to set the tush push, you pick up 3 yards and you win it, or you keep the clock moving and give it back to Atlanta with the Falcons team to drive the way through the field with no timeouts and under a minute left. Barring anything crazy, you run the ball and you win the game. Plain and simple, you'll win the game. When you throw a pass, however, yes, you could pick up the first down and win it. And we're going to talk about the play design in a bit. But if you don't complete the pass, and it gets dropped, or there's tight coverage on the play, which is always a legitimate possibility, that's 40 seconds that you do not get to run off. And that means that the opposition is getting the ball back with just under 100 seconds left versus just under a minute left. I'm not saying that it's easy for the opposing team to drive down the field in about 140, but it's way easier than doing it with under a minute. You don't have to waste it down by spiking the ball. You can use the middle of the field, even if it's not for a first down. If you get to the 50-yard line on your first play and get a nice pickup about 15 to 20 yards on the first play, you don't have to go with extreme tempo. While you can't run the ball, you can call a fairly normal offense. Again, if you have under a minute left to drive 70 yards and you have no timeouts, you maybe have time for 8 plays. With 140 left, the world is your oyster. In one scenario, you can win the game with a minimal gain of yardage, and if you don't get the first, the other team has to rely on a miracle to win it. In the other scenario, you can win the game with a minimal gain of yardage, and if you don't get the first, the other team has a fairly realistic chance of winning it. And you chose the second option that gives the other team a chance? Yeah, that doesn't seem to make any sense to anyone with a functioning brain. But I can already hear you saying, wait a second, time out. That was a high percentage throw by Jalen Hurts. The play call was fine. The ball hits Saquon Barkley in his hands. If he catches this ball, we're not having this conversation. even if he probably doesn't get the first down, since there were 2 Falcon defenders ready to tackle him before he got to the first down line. And that is true. If Saquon Barkley does his job and he catches the ball, then the Eagles are in a good spot, and it's no different than a run. However, why the actual heck would you call a passing play designed for Saquon Barkley in this spot? Over the last 4 years, Saquon Barkley has the most drop passes amongst running backs with 16. He has the most drop passes in the NFL for players at his position. I'm not saying the man has butterfingers for hands, but he's not exactly the most reliable receiver in the world. This isn't like you had Larry Fitzgerald getting this pass or someone like that. This is a man that you're holding your breath on every time the ball is thrown his way because he has a tendency to drop passes. Maybe don't call a risky play when you don't have to if it involves the guy who has trouble executing in the spot. Maybe that's not the best idea. If you're going to catch the Falcons off guard regardless, because they're not expecting you to throw, so the play design would have worked no matter who was back there, maybe use someone else in the flat who doesn't drop the ball regularly. Just a thought. If you win the game by running the ball, and you don't win the game if the clock stops on a throw, and said throw that you're going to try is going to a guy that has some of the least reliable hands in football, you'd have to be a moron to actually try that. And obviously, after the game, reporters asked Nick Sirianni about his absolutely awful decision to throw the football in this spot and risk the clock stopping, especially seeing as there was a timeout that had to be taken beforehand off of a dead ball. So you had all the time in the world to ponder this. And this is what Sirianni had to say. Take a listen.
What was your thought process on the 3rd and 3 call on the pass? And on that play, is there a mechanism where Jalen just sits down, takes a sack, if that's not wide open?
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to. They were running a certain defense and junking it up in the middle. So we're trying to go around the outside, and it didn't work.
Okay, so the idea was that the Falcons were clogging it up the middle, and you didn't trust your team to get 2 yards. Since again, you just needed 2 yards to set up the tush push. So you wanted to go to the outside. And if that's your explanation, holy crap, that's insane. Because you know what? There's a way to go to the outside and kill the clock. There's a way to go to the outside and not risk the possibility of the clock stopping. You know what it's called? It's called an outside run. Ever heard of those? You can pitch it to the outside. You can call a stretch play. You can call a sweep. You can have Hurts in the read option. You can call a jet sweep. Literally, there are so many ways you can go to the outside that are relatively risk-free from a clock perspective that don't involve throwing the football. You called that play because you didn't trust your offensive line to block properly when Barkley had been running well all day. You called that play because you wanted to go to the outside when there are ways to go to the outside without taking that chance. That's like saying I went with my driver off the tee in golf because I wanted to reach the green. And the hole in question was a 150-yard par 3. As if there aren't other clubs I can use to reach the green that are significantly less risky and that make way more sense. I thought the play call was bad before, but this explanation somehow makes one of the worst calls I've seen in quite some time even worse. Legitimately, if that's your explanation, I don't even know what to say. And what's crazy is that we saw this exact scenario play out Sunday in the game between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Browns were up 18-13, they had the ball in Jacksonville territory, and the Jaguars had no timeouts left with 1:40 to go in the game. For whatever crazy reason, the Browns decided to throw a pass and have Deshaun Watson try to get the first down through the air. It didn't work out, it fell incomplete, and the Browns punted it back to the Jaguars with about 1:40 left, meaning that the Jaguars had plenty of time to go down the field and get the touchdown they needed to win the game. And to Jacksonville's credit, they got down to about the 37-yard line before a pass to the end zone fell just incomplete. They dodged a bullet there. The Eagles could not do the same and could not dodge this bullet. This is now 2 straight Monday night games where the Eagles lost it on a game-winning drive by the opposing quarterback against all odds. Drew Lock last year in the Seattle Seahawks game and Kirk Cousins on Monday night. Nick Sirianni is just Oh, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say. Like, honestly, what the heck was Nick Sirianni thinking here? So what do we learn from all of this? If you have the game won and all you have to do is run out the clock, then quite simply, run out the clock. If all you have to do is run the ball and you win the game barring a complete miracle, then run the freaking ball and don't let the other team have a chance to win it. If you are going to call a passing play because you want to go to the outside and you never thought about the possibility of running it to the outside, especially after a dead ball, when you had plenty of time to think things over, then you're an idiot. And if you're going to call a passing play that relies on a player with some of the most stone-cold hands in football to successfully make the play, and you're going to do this in a spot where you do not have to because you would basically have the game won otherwise, then you're an idiot. This decision isn't going to be forgotten for a while. I can promise you that much. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.